who are providing workshops on fields such as soil management, new farming techniques, pest control, and others. Our show is an excellent platform for small-scale farmers, and the expansion of our awards in the agricultural section continues to increase their involvement and improve their performance.
And speaking in another development, President Edgar Lungu has assured the international community that Zambia will once again rise to the occasion and conduct free, fair and credible elections in line with the cherished principles of advancing peace and stability, which has shaped Zambia's character and reputation as a nation. President Lungu said this in Lusaka last evening during the state banquet hosted in honor of visiting Namibian President Dr. Hage Geingob, who is in the country for the official opening of this year's agriculture and commercial show in Lusaka. And President Lungu recalls that Zambia played a pivotal role during Namibia's struggle for independence and during the transitional period leading to the holding of free and fair elections in 1990. President Lungu says during Namibia's struggle for independence, Zambia was happy to have hosted Namibian nationals and provided training facilities for the United Nations Institute for Namibia. He says Namibia today stands proud as a country rich in natural resources with strong infrastructure and a conducive climate to attract foreign investment. He reiterates that the slogans of One Zambia, One Nation, as well as One Namibia, One Nation should continue to resonate in the entire two nations undertaking. President Lungu has since reiterated government's commitment to further enhancing the bilateral cooperation between Zambia and Namibia. The Southern African Development Community SADC Electoral Observation Mission SEOM says it has concluded that Zambia is prepared and ready to hold elections on 11th August concurrently with the referendum. Speaking during the launch of the SEOM to the 2016 general elections, Odomiro Baloi, head of mission, has encouraged the Electoral Commission of Zambia (ECZ) to conduct its work professionally, citing that the political leadership should also lead by example in terms of electoral behavior. Mr. Baloi, who is also Mozambique Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, says it is also important for the electorate to act responsibly. He says they are confident that the deployment of their observers will contribute to enhancing the credibility of the overall electoral process. Mr. Baloi has appealed to Zambians to follow the laid-down procedures should there be any areas of disagreement during the process. He has further urged political parties to adhere and accept the results of the elections and lodge their complaints and grievances through the relevant institutions such as the Constitutional Court.
We are confident that the deployment of our observers will contribute to enhance the credibility of the overall electoral process. As a region, we have made great strides in ensuring participation of citizens in decision-making as part of our efforts to promote democratic values, practice, and strengthening institutions of democracy. Our member states have constitutions that enshrine the principles and provisions of equal opportunities and full participation for all citizens in political processes. In this context, this is provided for in the newly amended National Constitution of Zambia, which came into effect on 5th January 2016. Furthermore, the Constitution of Zambia underscores the need to ensure that Zambia's electoral procedures, among other aspects, guarantee citizens the liberty to exercise.
The SADC Electoral Observation Mission has deployed 49 observers across the country to observe the August 11th general elections. Transparency International Zambia TIZ has advised political parties to adequately train polling agents to man the polling stations and result centers to prevent unforeseeable rigging. TIZ Executive Director Goodwill Lungu says there is too much talk about the possible rigging of the elections and that political parties can prevent this unforeseeable occurrence. Mr. Lungu believes that if political parties form parallel voter tabulation systems, they can prevent such occurrences. And Mr. Lungu has encouraged Zambians to turn out in large numbers to take part in the voting process.
We have created an SMS platform where every 2 days or so we send anti-corruption messages to parliamentary candidates. Those who opt not to comply and they violate the electoral code of conduct and the electoral law, so far we have received a number of reports on those particular violations. So we are making an assessment, and before the election day, we are going to provide a summary to the public. What sort of violations are we coming across, and how the law is going to take its course. The component in terms of the law, we will hand these complaints to the ACC to make a determination whether they can recommend punitive action on candidates who are violating the electoral code of conduct. But generally, what we'd like to advise the stakeholders is that we are not just a few days before elections. In particular, our advice to political parties is that they should adequately train their polling agents so that they should man the polling stations and results centers adequately to prevent any foreseeable rigging. People have been speculating on how rigging can take place when people are present. We believe that if they conduct a stringent parallel voter tabulation systems, they will be able to prevent any.
You're watching QTV's 7 p.m. news. We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be right back.
What wears green rides on golden wings at loftier heights than the ninth deck of silver-lined clouds, deep in the azure blue of ancient skies. Then returning to its nest, descends gracefully to delicately alight in the din of applause on land where the earliest humans first saw the light of day. An Ethiopian Airlines crew, ever ready, ever proud to serve you. Come, walk with us in the footsteps of the ancestors of humankind.
Hatch your eggs with Pledge Incubators. We stock full automatic incubators with high hatching rate above 90%. Our incubators are of different sizes and hatching capacity at unbelievable prices. For details, call the distributor on 0966 806628 or 0950 610285. Pledge Incubators. Hatch your way.
Welcome back. The opposition UPND has expressed concern that the recent statement by President Lungu warning the opposition to accept the election results of the forthcoming general elections was done in bad faith. President Lungu recently vowed that he will not allow the country to degenerate into chaos by those who want to dispute election results. But UPND Chairman for Rural Reconstruction and Development, Mono Mapani, says the party would not accept to see the PF or any other organ manipulate the election results. Mr. Mapani says the voice of the people should be heard through the ballot and that no one should intimidate the opposition with stern action in an event that the elections are not free and fair. He says the opposition cannot accept the results when they see that the results are manipulated. Mr. Mapani says a strong statement by President Lungu is testimony that they are planning to rig the elections, and that is why they are warning the opposition in advance so that they do not act when the election results are manipulated. Meanwhile, Mr. Mapani has expressed shock that the Law Association of Zambia has U-turned on the issue of holding the referendum alongside the elections after taking a firm stance earlier that the referendum be held independently. He says the reason given by the laws are weak just because the exercise is supported by President Lungu.
That the U-turn they have just made to support the referendum, to me it's a very big embarrassment. These are the people who had instilled hope in the people of Zambia, that they were not going to participate until the correct thing is done. Now, hearing from the last vice president on Wednesday night at the Mulungushi Conference Center, who insisted and stated that he shall, or Laz shall participate in the referendum because the Republican president has insisted going ahead with it. Now, my question is, why should Laz be forced to participate in something that they don't believe? As an individual, I want to believe the position that has been taken by Laz is embarrassing to the legal fraternity. When we talk of human rights, we need to ensure that these rights we are fighting for should be given or should be enjoyed by all the citizens. Because there's no one who gives these rights. These are rights that we are born with. And these are rights that have to be enjoyed until such a time when we violate or we actually commit an act that actually cause or likely to cause compromise on the security.
The ruling Patriotic Front has urged the opposition United Party for National Development UPND President Hakainde Hichilema and his running mate Geoffrey to stop inciting their supporters to engage in violence. PF National Youth Chairman Stephen Kampiongo says the UPND leadership must tone down their speech, which he says has been provocative. Mr. Kampiongo was reacting to reports that a young lady identified as Pamela Chanda of Bondwe area in Southern Province was brutally assaulted by UPND members when it was discovered that she was a PF sympathizer, and the video has since emerged and has been circulating on social media, clearly showing how the defenseless lady was attacked by a mob of UPND supporters brandishing an assortment of weapons. Mr. Kampiongo says the behavior exhibited by the UPND is unacceptable anywhere in the world, citing that the conduct demonstrates blatant political barbarism, brutality and savagery of the worst kind. He has condemned the heartless behavior in the strongest terms and has called on the Zambia Police Service to quickly take up the matter and arrest the attackers. Mr. Kampiongo says the incident is extremely depressing, particularly that it comes soon after UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema directed his members to beat up any person identified as PF sympathizers. He has further urged Zambians to ignore calls from their leaders who ask them to wage violence against one another, as we are all one nation belonging to one country called Zambia. Economist Yusuf Dodia has urged relevant stakeholders to take serious steps towards diversifying the country's economy from dependence on copper. Mr. Dodia believes that the diversification agenda should not be left to government alone, but that it needs to be collaborative by all stakeholders. He says the only thing government can do is to facilitate the diversification agenda, while stakeholders come on board to help government achieve its dream. Mr. Dodia has also encouraged government to create favorable policies for other actors to operate freely so that the diversification agenda can be actualized.
Diversification of the economy is not really something that can be driven by government. Government can facilitate it, but not actually drive it. We must understand what diversification of the economy means. What it means is that you look at your major resource area. Where are you earning the most resources? And try to use those funds to finance other areas where you can start to build new opportunities. And in Zambia, it's very clear that the mining industry is where our resources are being generated. In a bad year, we export about $4 billion worth of copper, and in a good year, we can export as much as $8 to $10 billion worth of copper. Now it's this earnings between $4 and $10 billion that actually becomes the input for the diversification.
You're watching QTV 7 p.m. news. We'll take our second commercial break. We'll be right back.
My vote gives me a voice in this election, and it allows me to exercise my freedom of choice. My vote gives me the power to take part in important national decisions. I will exercise my right to vote because I believe that my vote is my right. I am voting on the 11th of August 2016 because my vote is my power.
Exercise your power to vote in this year's election and referendum on the 11th of August 2016. Carry your voter's card and your green national registration card to be able to vote. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ. Support peaceful elections.
As a mom, you're an expert in all you do. That's why you need an expert cleaner. New Mr. Muscle Glade All-Purpose Cleaner combines the cleaning expertise of Mr. Muscle with fresh fragrances from Glade. It can also be used on all washable surfaces. New Mr. Muscle Glade All-Purpose Cleaner. The power of 2 experts in 1 bottle.
Welcome back. The Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue, ZCID, says it would have been better if the voters' register was availed to the stakeholders, particularly political parties, in good time. ZCID Executive Director Horace Chilando says availing the register 7 days before the election is not enough time for the stakeholders to bring out the queries that they would want to have clarified. Mr. Chilando says the voters' roll has been a source of contention, and so for the sake of transparency, it would have been better to have it long enough before the elections. He adds that next time, people must have access to the document way before the elections so that if there are issues, they are corrected without disturbing the elections. Mr. Chilando has, however, urged the stakeholders to do what they can do now with the little time that they have.
Counting basically 11 days from now, if we remove the holiday and the weekend, there are very few days remaining. And I mean, we would want to see the Commission really working flat out to ensure that some of these sticky areas are clarified and are sorted out before we get to holiday. We do not want to have a contested election, based on things that we could have prevented. So far, I mean, as a country, we've been doing well. We have given an example to many other countries that we can do these things and do them properly. But we need to up our game and ensure that we don't allow unnecessary shortcomings to come into our.
The Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP, has welcomed the commitment to peace that has been signed by the ruling Patriotic Front and Opposition United Party for National Development, UPND. FODEP Acting Executive Director Chimfoembe Mwenge says the commitment is a major milestone in the restoration of peace, unity and reconciliation between the two political parties in Zambia. Mr. Mwenge says the commitment to peace is important, especially during this period of political campaigns, because it will help end violence and restoration of order in the political field. He says FODEP has observed that the two political frontrunners were often fighting each other in the past, as exemplified by violent acts such as tearing of each other's campaign materials, contrary to electoral laws, but they are delighted that the parties have realized the consequences of violence and have thus committed to promote peace, unity and coexistence. Mr. Mwenge says the PF and UPND are major political parties with a lot of members, and it is their hope that the endorsement of the peace accord should help in bringing about stability and political coexistence during the campaigns. He has further urged the two political parties to show their commitment to peace by showing of practical actions that promote their commitments, because merely signing a document pronouncing peace may not be enough to end differences and violence that currently characterizes the political regime in Zambia. Water Aid has observed that Zambia needs to be investing $200 million United States dollars each year in the urban water and sanitation to reach the country's target. Water Aid Country Director Pamela Chisanga says right now the country is only investing $8 million each year of the 200 required. Ms. Chisanga explains that the country's target is to reach 100% water coverage and 90% of sanitation by 2030. She adds that for rural water, where the coverage is low, the investment is significantly higher than that of urban water and sanitation. Mrs. Chisanga states that there is need to put more effort in investing in the water and sanitation sector if the country has to reach its target.
Nobody is saying what's happening to meet this gap. Mind you, this is just for urban water and sanitation. When we come to rural water, where the coverage is, very low, for water it's just about 50%, and for sanitation it's only about 44%. So the investment there that is required is even significantly higher than perhaps for urban water and sanitation. But nobody is speaking to these issues.
We'll take our third commercial break. We'll be right back.
Votilanga ndiloli ulanga mdziko mwazima yakhala kulimbirana kuti amvekere. Lidzaponya voti chifukwa chakuti votilanga lifunika. Ndikhulupirira kuti votilanga ndi ufulu wanga. Lidzaponya voti m'masankho yaakulu a chaka chino. Lidzaponya votilanga pa 11 August 2016 chifukwa chakuti votilanga ndi ufulu wanga. Onetsani ufulu wanu kuponya voti mchaka chino cha 2016 pa masankho yaakulu ndi referendum pa 11 August 2016 uyambira nthawi ya 6 koloko mmawa kufikira nthawi ya 18 koloko madzulo. Nyamula chitupa chanu cha voters card ndi cha green national registration card kuti mukaponye voti. Okubweretsani uthengawu ndi akabungwe ka Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ. Tanzani masankho ochitika mwamtendere.
Hello, You're watching Cube Business. This time around, we are at Okadeco Office Furniture Store, Oka Trends. Here, you can get the very best of office furniture at very affordable prices. Now, these tables are executive, and I know that's definitely what's best for your office. Now, if you're looking to get yourself into the executive mood anywhere in your house, and I mean anywhere, Okadeco is definitely the place to be for you. You can get to Okadeco and get the very best of climbing material. If you're looking to get yourself a pedestal pan or maybe a tumbler holder, a paper holder, this is definitely the place to be. After a busy day at work, now the best thing that you can get home to is a luxurious bed, and this you can get at Okadeco. You can get all these at very affordable prices, and you will definitely enjoy your rest and be ready for the next day. Ladies love matching things, from matching clothes to matching curtains, but at Okadeco you can get matching curtains regardless of what color your home is, because there's a wide variety of curtains regardless of what color your home is. You can get any type of curtain at Okadeco. Okadeco. Hello.
Welcome to Mika Spa, a quiet and serene environment that offers you a relaxing full body treat. From hair treatments, facial treatments, body massages, our spa offers you a world-class full body treatment, a barbershop for all ages, manicures and pedicures that will leave you feeling refreshed and uplifted. So visit us at www.mikahotels.com.
Every Home for Christ Regional Director Bishop Dr. Richard Kakua has urged political players to be responsible enough during the announcement of the results after the August 11th general elections. Bishop Kakua says this is a period when political parties tend to be irresponsible when results are not going in their favor, and thus the need for them to remain calm during the period. Bishop Kakua says political party leaders must instill a sense of responsibility in their supporters so as to avoid confusion when the results start flowing. He says Zambia cannot afford to be in a confusion that may also dent the image of the nation to the international community.
Prior to the general elections that will be held on 11th August, we may have seen non-coexistence among political parties. But however, our core, beginning from now up to the aftermath of the election results, is that there must be preparedness on each individual party to be responsible, especially with the results that will come out after that. What we don't want to see is, after we have prayed, trusted God, and resolved not to be engaged in violence, and after the aftermath of the election results, we see violence erupting. That we say, no, we don't want that to happen to our country. However, it's a race, it's a competition, and all of them, individual political parties, are going in to compete. We want to make an appeal to say the acceptance of those official results that shall be announced after that should be accepted for the sake of the peace.
The Central Statistical Office, CSO, has disclosed that the volume of refined copper exhibited a fluctuating trend between January and June 2016, with the highest volume of 86,516.2 recorded in January 2016. CSO Director John Kalumbi says the lowest volume of 66,161.5 metric tons was recorded in April 2016. Mr. Kalumbi explains that the corresponding price of copper on the London Metal Exchange registered a steady increase between January and March 2016 from $4,467.5 US per metric ton to $4,947.55 per metric ton in June 2016. And Mr. Kalumbi says Zambia's major non-traditional exports for the month of June 2016 were telephones for cellular networks, followed by bullion semi-manufactured forms. He states that Zambia's major export products in June 2016 were from intermediate category, mainly comprising of cathodes and sections of cathodes from refined copper.
But we know that in the month of July, the price of copper has picked up.
if you have been following the trend, it was trading at around 4,000. I think as of last week it was trading about 4,900, very close to 5,000. But this is speeches up to June, the LME cash settlement prices, the underlying prices.
The Advocacy Against Gender-Based Violence and Child Abuse has observed that Zambia has not fared well in terms of reducing the high GBV cases in the country. Advocacy Executive Director Belion Chola says Zambia has the potential of ending the vice, and that is what it is needed in its collaborative efforts from all stakeholders. Mr. Chola says this fight should not be left to government alone, but that all stakeholders should come on board and play a part in ending it. He explained to QTV News that Zambia is currently ranked on the 20th in the world, saying this standing is not a good one.
Hasn't fared very well, because if we compare the first quarters of 2015 and 2016, GBV cases have increased to about 7.7% from 2015 and 2016. The sign that shows that Zambia hasn't fared very well. Therefore, it calls for concerted efforts that as a nation, both through the government, CSOs, and just generally individuals, we should work extra hard that we eradicate GBV cases in Zambia. Because at the moment, Zambia is ranked 20th in the world in connection with GBV cases, which is not good. Meaning we should work extra hard as a nation to fight GBV.
We'll take our last break. We'll be back. We'll take a look at some of the stories that have made headlines tonight as we proceed to international news. Visiting Namibian President Dr. Hage Geingob has observed the need for African countries to closely work with the private sector and local entrepreneurs in advancing economic growth. The Southern African Development Community SADC Electoral Observation Mission has concluded that Zambia is prepared and ready to hold elections on the 11th of August, concurrently with the referendum. In international news, the Turkish military has killed 35 Kurdish militants who tried to storm a base in the southeast. The overnight attack in the Chikuka district of Hakkari province near the Iraqi border came hours after clashes between soldiers and militants left 8 soldiers dead in the area. A ceasefire between Turkey's military and the banned Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK broke down in July last year. An air operation was launched, killing 23 militants. 12 more were killed in later clashes on the ground. Dozens of families have left besieged eastern areas of the city of Aleppo along a humanitarian corridor. The civilian-boarded buses were taken to temporary shelters, state news agency SANA said. Some rebels had also surrendered to government forces, the report said. Russia, an ally of the Syrian government, announced on Thursday that 4 exit corridors would be opened in Aleppo for civilians and rebels. 2 brothers suspected of planning attacks have been arrested in Belgium in an anti-terror operation, prosecutors say. The 2 men, named as Noureddin H. 33 and his brother Hamza, were detained after house searches in the Mons region and the city of Liege. No weapons or explosives were found in the searches. Belgium is still on high alert since 32 people died in bombings at Brussels airport and a metro station in March. Many more people were injured in the attacks, which were claimed by the so-called Islamic State. The story brings us to the end of our news tonight. Be sure to join us at the same time for another interesting news bulletin. For more news, you can visit qfmzambia.com. My name is Geoffrey Zyambo. Bye-bye.